Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trek on Tuesday. I mean, why beat around the bush, Aaron? We're talking about everyone's favorite subject today. Most people's favorite subject.
Gina, I have two questions for you. Have you ever been dog sledding?
That's one question, and no.
Second question, have you ever spent the night outdoors in like freezing cold snow?
No. But
I've done
there's one thing that could get me to sleep outside in the cold. The prospect of
uh,
dog sledding.
prospect
Dogs.
of dog sledding. Exactly. I've never spent the night in the cold like that either, but I have gone dog sledding. And Gina, that's what we're going to talk about today on Trek on Tuesday.
I think I communicated this clearly already, but I don't have much desire to go sleep in the snow, except like the nostalgia I feel when I think back to some of the books we read growing up, like Call of the Wild and Jack London books of being out there cold and snuggling up with your dog. It's going to help you get from point A to point B. I just love that. And that's exactly what these scouts got to do. Unbelievable.
It's a very romantic, action, right? To sleep out in the snow like
In the
that.
classical definition.
Yes, in the classical definition, not in the Valentine's Day definition,
Yes.
which is coming up, but the
That's next
classical
month.
definition. Exactly.
No,
So
and
yeah,
Balto, any Balto fans out there? Let me know. Big Balto fan here. Was really excited to get to see the statue. So all of these dogs are honorary Baltos in my heart, for sure.
I have been dog sledding at Northern Tier, which is really really cool. But Northern Tier, while maybe one of the more popular places, not the only place you can go dog sledding. A lot of local council camps located up in the snowier areas offer dog sledding programs as well. And we're going to talk about one of those today that is also featured in the January-February issue of Scout Life magazine.
And Aaron accessed it on the app. If you were having trouble accessing this story on the app, try again. Maybe it'll work for you today. And if not, don't worry. We're all over making sure you can access these stories long term. Aaron, I'm really jealous that you've gotten to do this. I wish that I had. Maybe I will get to. The whole concept is foreign to me because of where we live. It's like one of those things just like people do that. People are, doing that regularly. More than one, dog sled event happens in the world. Like it sounds very ignorant and it is, but just it's definitely not something in my backyard. That's for sure.
It's one of those like methods of transportation that was invented many years ago because it was necessary, but it was so fun that people now do it just for fun. Maybe they don't want to ride a snowmobile out in the snow, right? They don't want to go cross country skiing or snowshoeing or something like that. Dog sledding is a great way to get around in the winter in the backcountry when there's snow and ice and things like that. And the takeaway from me, my own personal experience dog sledding, and also from reading in the story by our friend Michael Freeman, the dogs love it. They go crazy. You know how your dog at home may get super excited when it's time for a walk. They start jumping around, and maybe if they're not very well trained, like my dog isn't, they will pull on the leash. That's what these dog sled dogs are like, except for they're supposed to run. They get to run. It's what they get to do. They go crazy. It's so fun to see.
Two things about these dogs. When you've heard the phrase like a dog that needs a job, that's these dogs.
Yep.
They need a job, and their job is very specific. They need to run in the snow and pull you behind them. And that is what they want to do. Yes. The second thing is that these dogs laugh at our Texas dogs. We worry about our Texas dogs when it's like 50 degrees outside, and we're like, little Fido can't handle that. Poor Fido's out there. These dogs are like.
And they get warm running like that. I mean, they are warm when they're done with a nice little dog sledding trot. They'll sometimes be panting and the snow feels good to them. They'll lay down in the snow because it feels good. They are used to the warm weather. They are acclimatized to it. Is that the right word? And they love being out in the snow like that. Yeah. My dog Buster couldn't handle it, Gina.
I know. No, my dog could not. My dog cannot. Like it's not even funny. I don't want to think about it, but I love seeing how happy dogs are. Again, like you mentioned, our friend Michael Freeman wrote the story. Wonderful photographs by John Andrews and Brian Halloran. Another thing I'll say is there's the world famous Iditarod, which is a dog sled race. And I think it is no coincidence that there are a lot of Eagle Scouts who participate. A lot of the participants in the Iditarod happen to be Eagle Scouts. We've covered that a few times on Aaron on Scouting. I just wonder if it's because there's opportunities for Scouts to go to these camps and get uh, like exposed to these things, which people like me don't.
There are a lot of scout councils out there in the north who host like Iditarod races, little mini Iditarod races with scouts, right? That I think the real Iditarod lasts days and days and days,
Yeah, I
right?
think so.
If I'm wrong, the scout run events don't quite last that long. It's more like maybe a few hours or so, but it's a similar type, of a sledding type race. Yeah, very popular activity. If you're an Eagle Scout or any scout with outdoor training, you've got some advantages, right? Because you're used to being outside, you know how to dress. We're going to get into that a little bit here in this story as well.
Yes. The Scouts in Troop 247 of Shakopee, Minnesota were excited to go dog sledding, but not nearly as excited as the dogs. When they're ready to run, they jump really high, says Ellie Ward, 16, a second-class scout. The bouncing soon turned into mushing as the scouts hopped on the sleds and signaled the huskies to start running. For 20 minutes straight, the sled dogs pulled the scouts across snow-covered trails. After a brief break, the dogs were swapped out for new dogs that were also eager to run. They just want to run, says Elise Lang, 15, a tenderfoot scout. I'm sure they'd run for as long as they'd want to. The troop had only a weekend with the frisky huskies, but it was enough time to try a new activity and discover more chilly adventures. I wonder why they switched the dogs out, just to be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could. That does seem like kind of a quick time frame of 20 minutes to switch them out again. But yeah, maybe they reduce the risk of injury. They are working pretty hard. Maybe they get tired. This
What
event,
a cool video. Sorry.
yeah, that's very, very cool. This event that we're talking about happens in January, February at Tomahawk Scout Camp in northern Wisconsin, when it transforms into what they call Snow Base. It's a winter destination filled with frozen fun like ice fishing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, and winter camping. Worth noting again that all that kind of stuff you do at Northern Tier. There are some council camps that offer the same kind of program. If you can't get to Northern Tier, maybe you can make it to one of these other winter council camps and do very similar programs. A favorite choice among the programs at Tomahawk Scout Camp is dog sledding. We thought it sounded cool, says Catherine Schnorr, 15, a life scout. We had done winter camping before. Wisconsin sees a lot of snow and plummeting temperatures in the winter. I think right now Wisconsin's getting like battered with a blizzard, I think. So anybody who's watching from Wisconsin, we hope you're safe. When it got closer to the Scouts' dog sledding adventure last winter, the forecast predicted it'd be frigid. When we were there, it was below zero, Ellie says. The camp provides 90% of what you need. That's another good thing about a lot of these winter camps, Gina, is that not everybody has winter camping gear, right? So a lot of them, Northern Tier and this Northern Star Council camp, they provide everything. They have everything covered: mummy sleeping bags, wool clothing, cooking equipment. The council camp staff had everything covered. On the first night, the camp also provides the training you need for operating the sleds and taking care of the huskies. Energetic dogs can be difficult to control. You can't be timid with putting on their harnesses and hooking them up to the sled. We had to be confident in handling the dogs, Elise says. Gina, you know a thing or two about horseback riding. I think this is similar in that part of the process of dog sledding is taking care of the animals, just like on a horseback riding track. Scouts will have to take care of the horses. You have to learn how to treat them right, how to handle them. It's the same thing with dog sledding.
Yes, and the different dynamic of a different kind of animal. My wheels are spinning. I'm thinking horses are prey animals. Dogs are kind of more like a predator.
Yeah.
And I know there's different philosophies on how they're trained as well, but I imagine that to some extent they need a leader out of their human partner. And interesting how that works when you're leading from literally behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, shout out to KM Scout Ranch in Montana that's watching. I bet you guys have a winter program up there in Montana. Would love to hear more about that in the comment. But yeah, and again, what a cool video we got.
Yeah, very, very cool. The dogs come first. I think we can all agree with that. After a night sleeping in the bunkhouse, the scouts woke up and had a job to do before breakfast. Before we're allowed to eat, we had to feed the dogs, says Megan Steffen, 15, a life scout. I'm for some reason operating under the same rule with my dog in his little heated bed indoors. The group tossed some straw on the ground for the group of 20 huskies to relax and stay cozy in. They cleaned the kennels and filled the dogs' bowls with fresh water. The dogs also got spoiled with some loving pet scratches and pats from the girls. If you take care of your animals, they'll be healthy, happy, and ready to work. They're working dogs, Ellie says. They were raised to do this. After the dogs were cared for, it was time to get familiar with the sleds. Each sled required at least 4 dogs, as it would be pulling 2 scouts, one to drive and one to manage the ropes. Standing on the back of the sled, the driver calls out commands to the dogs and leans on sharp curves to keep the sled upright. The rider sits on the sled and watches the dog and the attached ropes to make sure no problems arise.
Yeah, one thing that's cool about dog sledding is, yeah, they're dogs, but they're most likely not like Gina and I's dogs in that these dogs are trained to be outside in the cold. They like it. When I was at Northern Tier, when they would settle down at night, at least one of the dog I remember wanted to sleep in an igloo with the scouts because it was significantly warmer in there, and they kind of basically discourage that, even though it's nice and snuggly to have a dog in the igloo with you. The dogs really, they don't want to be spoiled. They're tough. They can handle it. They sleep outdoors on their own, which seems crazy to us, right? But
They're
that's what these dogs.
huskies, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're bred for. Yeah, they're made for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Just imagine, by the way, this, dog sledding is nothing new, right, Gina? For thousands of years, people have used dogs to haul gear. Several breeds can handle the cold and demand of pulling a sled. This camp uses Alaskan and Siberian Huskies. These dogs have double layered coats to keep them warm, and their metabolism, which is the process of turning food into energy, works in such a way that they have the endurance to run hundreds of miles in a week. Alaskans are used for sled racing. You can tell they're mixed with Greyhound, Ellie says. They both like to talk a lot, as we just heard their dogs there talking. If you want a husky as a pet, they're very vocal creatures. When driving a sled, you must be just as loud. It can prove challenging, especially in the elements. All the wind was coming at you and going through your gloves, Elise says. The scout soldiered on, yelling commands at the dogs. If the dogs still mushed too fast, the driver dragged her foot in the snow, signaling for the dogs to stop. Many of the scouts don't have such a powerhouse animal as a pet, so they had to make sure the team knew who was alpha during a ride. Basically, exactly what you said. They're looking for a leader of the pack, right?
Yes, man, this is just so cool to think
I know, it
about, see
really
these
is, right?
pictures. The
Yeah,
dogs are
very
so
cool.
cute. You hear
Yeah,
about them as like these incredible athletes. You expect to look at them and they're like have these tough, regal looks, but no, they just look like sweet
they're
little
just cute
dogs.
little puppy dogs. Exactly. Yeah,
Yep. I'd have trouble not just wanting to spoil them and pet them, but it does sound
for
like they have
sure.
a healthy balance of getting to pet and love the dogs and take care of the dogs.
Yes,
What a
yes,
yeah.
exactly. Yep.
2 rides later, the scouts moved on to their next activity, getting ready for bed. They set up 2 shelters, a parachute tent, and a quinzhee, a simple shelter made from hollowing out a pile of snow. For the quinzhee, that meant breaking out the shovels. It took a lot of work, but it was fun, Catherine says. We had really nice sleeping bags. It was a lot warmer than I expected. It also helped that the girls laid a tarp and a few sleeping pads under their sleeping bags. The more padding there is between you and the ground, the more insulation you have to help keep you warm. The next morning, the scouts fed the dogs again, went on one last ride, and then said goodbye to their new furry friends. Okay, now I'm going to sound like my spoiled dog. I have had the experience recently of laying on, going a little bit further north than I live and sleeping on an air mattress, and it is cold. Just the air mattress alone on maybe a basement floor or something is cold. That's an air
Hmm.
mattress.
Yep.
I just to reiterate, the more even that, it's I feel like I need some insulation. I can't imagine what you'd have to put down just
Yeah.
laying on the snow.
I've had a similar experience. I went camping with my son when he was a Cub Scout, and then later a Scouts BSA member, and the temperature got maybe down into the low 40s, right, or upper 30s. Not even that cold compared to what we have here, and I just thought it was freezing. And the reason why is, of course, I didn't have the right gear. Right here at places like this, at Northern Tier and here with the Northern Star Council, they make sure you have the right gear, and also building an igloo, doing it the right way can make a huge difference. It's much, much warmer in an igloo with a couple of people inside there than it is right outside. Obviously igloos have been around thousands of years, right? They've been around for a long, long
Right.
time. People have been building igloos. There's a reason for that. It's because it worked. When you have the right equipment, you can actually be fairly comfortable. Yeah, that's extreme for me, but
Pretty cool though.
it's very,
It's
very
awesome to
cool.
think, a lot of these girls are 15. They've already done it. 15.
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. Yes, very, very cool. You know, they have to, as you can see from that video,
Dig
nobody
it out.
builds the igloos for them. They have to do
No.
it
They're
themselves. Yeah.
big too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Aaron, I have a challenge for you on this next part. When you read these next sections, do you think maybe you're going to read it the way you would deliver it to the dogs?
It's great that I get to read this section. We're going to go over some common mushing commands. Mushing is the term that means dog sledding. And like Gina was saying earlier, the dogs are looking for someone to tell them what to do. They're looking for commands.
Show us
And
how
so
that works.
there are there are certain commands. One command is hike. When you say hike, of course, you need to say it. As we heard in the story, you need to say it extreme. I don't want to say it too loud.
Maybe we'd listen to
The
you, but probably
microphone.
not like
Yes,
that.
right. You
Yeah.
have to say it extremely loud. Hike! You got to say
Yeah.
it extremely loud to tell that sounds like a football player
That was
almost, right?
good.
To tell the dogs to go. Now, Gina, do you want to guess what you say to tell the dogs to turn to the left?
Starboard or
The
something.
word, the word for no reason at all is haw. Haw! That means, and I think what we're doing here is we're coming up with simple one-syllable words that sound different enough, like hike and haw, to where the dogs can tell the difference, because obviously the dog doesn't know the word hike, the dog doesn't know the word haw, the dog just knows the sound.
Right.
For example, hike means go, haw means go left, go right, Gina. G! You say G, G-E-E, to go to the right. And stop is a word that we've probably said as parents, both of us have used this word many times. Whoa! That means stop.
Yeah.
That's the universal language for that. Yeah.
I know there's a whole philosophy on how you name your dog, you know, like trying to name it, probably things similar, not similar to these, but like the way the sounds are so maybe clearer to a dog than a human,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, exactly. Well, those are the four basic commands. Other than that, you know, there's just sort of basic affirmations that you say to the dog, just like you would to your dog at home.
Good dog.
To a good dog, exactly, just to make sure that they know that they're doing the right thing. Yeah.
My dad was kind of into dog training, and I remember he, you know, like sometimes my dog would do something good and I want to just get him so excited and tell him good boy. And even then he'd be like, you know, you can tell him good boy, but try to stay calm, try to tell him, you know, good boy. And leave it at that, or you're going to get them all riled up and off focus. And I just would love to see, you know, what that looks like, or what all of this looks like for these dogs. Maybe I need to get up there.
There you go. Maybe we need to do a live video with Gina from an igloo. Let's do that. Let's make that happen.
Is it like skiing where there's like maybe like a hot chocolate stand on the way?
If I have anything to say about it, yes, that's exactly right. Because that's my idea of winter camping. Yeah, very, very cool. You know, for some folks who live up there, you know, maybe that temperature is not that unusual. They're out in it all the time themselves.
Sure.
Right? It's not that big a deal. When I've interviewed some scouts from up north. And, you know, winter camping is just camping. It's just what you do.
Exactly. Just like, yes, exactly. If you want to check out this story, it is on our website. We've got the URL. We'll put up on the bottom of the screen. You can head there. As always, like, this is a good old fashioned Trek story. This is the bread and butter of Trek on Tuesday. But the reason we do these is hopefully you can share them with your unit. You guys can get ideas for what you want to do in the future. I mean, nothing is off limits. These camps exist to help you have really fun scouting experiences. They're out there for you.
And the great thing about it is, believe it or not, now is about the right time to start thinking about what you're going to do next winter. And registration for a lot of these winter bases is opening up here in the next month or two. It's not too early to think about, you know, maybe it might be too late to think about winter this year, but it's not too early to think about winter next year. So that's why we do these stories in Scout Life and on our treks here. Just like you say, yeah, think about it. You might think, oh, it's too cold, I can't do that. People do it. They love it. They're comfortable with it. It's a fun thing. The good thing is, just like everything else in scouting, right? When you're prepared, when you're dressed properly, when you eat the right food, when you build the right shelter, it's totally comfortable. It's totally fine. People do it all the time. And in fact, people swear by it.
People live this way, actually. Even what I like about this camp is they don't let you fail. It seems like they've got some gear on site to make sure you're not going to freeze. They're going to keep you warm.
Right. And there's certainly a fine line between toughing it out and, you know, going into hypothermia, right? They're not going to let you be hypothermic. That's the great thing about scouting, is that you can try these things in a safe environment with responsible people watching over you to make sure that, you know, you're not really going to get sick or injured or anything like that.
Absolutely. Well, this was fun, Aaron.
This was excellent. Next winter, let's make it a goal. We'll get up there and we'll do a Trek on Tuesday live on location from one of these winter camps. In the
Okay.
meantime, hope you all enjoy your winter over the next week. We'll be back on Friday with an episode of Cub Chat Live. We will see you then. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye, everybody.